Youngstown State to 4 national titles and Ohio State to a 2002 BCS championship and 7 Big Ten titles. Known for discipline and academic excellence, he later served as president of Youngstown State University, focusing on student success and community engagement. A lifelong advocate for youth and education, he has supported scholarships, youth football, and leadership programs. In 2025, he was appointed Ohio's Lieutenant Governor, where he continues advancing education and workforce development across the state. His impact spans athletics, academia, and public service. The 2025 Paul Brown Living Legend Award recipient, presented by the National High School Football Hall of Fame, and 2025 event sponsor, the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club, Lieutenant Governor and true friend of the club, Jim Tressel.
Good job, good job.
Thanks so much, man. Good to hear I'm living at this point, but I think this is my 40th time. I was just going through my calendar. Were any of you alive at that time? 1986? A couple of you. But you know what you are reminded of every time you come here is that, you know, a lot of life is about people, it's about your friends, and just having the chance to enjoy one another and talk about sports and talk about life and your families, and I'm sure as you come here, people bring up memories that you've had that you haven't talked about lately, and every time I come back, I think of when we lived here in 1956 and 57, and how my dad loved his time here, and Maury and Katie Basler, and all of those memories ring through. And then I saw Bill Ridge here, one of the great players my dad ever had. And Bill, I forgot to mention to you, when I was at the Massillon Boys and Girls Club the other day, Pete Hyman, who was a good Massillon player, played with you on that 61 undefeated team, was there. And his granddaughter is one of the people that runs the Massillon Boys and Girls Club, and it is doing extraordinary things. And so you always think about friends and family, and I saw Dale Herbert and Dougie Shook, two of our BW teammates, and a couple, I'm getting so old, a couple of the guys that I coached at Akron are retired. How come I'm not retired? Andy Steinman and Marty Rogers back there, you know, and then I see TJ holding up the back wall somewhere. Oh, where is he? He's over there on that side. Okay, he was holding up that wall, you know, and Gary Spino's here, who is like a Buckeye brother, and life's about people. And it's a little bit of a hard week for us. We lost one of TJ's guys, Nick Mangold, just a special person, didn't say much, at least when we were around. Maybe he did with the guys, I don't know, but just worked and just was a team guy. You want me to play center, you don't play guard, what do you want me to play? Went on in the first round of the NFL draft and played 11 years for the Jets, and, you know, 7 times All-Pro or something like that, and retired there and coaching high school kids, youth kids, and you know, it just reminds you that every day is precious, and we lost a great one there, but life is about your relationships and your teammates and your family and friends, and that's why it's so much fun to see all this. And I apologize for my voice. I'm chasing 183,000 4th through 8th graders around the state in our fitness challenge. And the governor, I've learned, is a worker, you know, and he's always got some ideas, and he came up with this idea that we needed to have a youth fitness challenge. And he said, you remember back in 1960 or whatever it was, when President Kennedy brought the president's fitness test? I said, oh, I sure do. I said, I think in third grade, gym class, we played dodgeball, and in fourth grade, we joined the Army. Because we were climbing ropes, we were running, we were push-ups, we were sit-ups. I said, yeah, Mr. Governor, I do remember that. I think I'm still emotionally scarred that I never made the top of the rope. And, you know, I don't think I ever passed phys ed. But he said, well, I think we need to do something. So we put together a little bit of a plan with a bunch of teachers and principals and folks that run training centers and said, you know, we want to come up with something that will meet kids where they are. You know, whether they're in a wheelchair or they need some adapted phys ed, or maybe they haven't been very active, or maybe they're very active. We want to come up with a plan. So we came up with our fitness challenge, and Teddy Ginn Jr. is our challenge captain. And so we put out an email after we created a curriculum and printed a booklet, and we thought, well, we're going to do a test pilot. And back in July, we sent a email out to all the principals of schools who have 4th through 8th graders. They might have 2 of those grades, or all 4 of those grades, or just one of them. But whoever had a 4th through an 8th grader, we sent them an email, and we said, if you'd like to take part in this pilot fitness challenge, we would love to have you. We'll mail you the books, et cetera, et cetera. And, well, we have over 700 schools, 183,000 kids. And the governor says, you got to get around and see all those kids. I'm like, Mr. Governor, in fact, I'm leaving here. I'm going to throw off my coat and put on my tennis shoes and I'm going to Rittman Middle School here in just a minute. But so that's why I can't talk, because I had 18 to 22-year-olds, and you know, they were challenging, but they were fine. 4th through 8th graders, whoo! They're shrill, they're screaming, they're yelling. I leave every one of those assemblies and my head's pounding and so forth, but it's fun to see them having a good time. And you know, usually when I would come back year after year, I would just say, well, you know, here's kind of what's going on since the last year. And if I recall, I think you reminded me, I was the first speaker a year ago, like September or something. And honestly, at the time, I was happily retired. Just going around seeing all my old guys coaching, and you know, I would get to like 3 YSU games. In fact, one of our former YSU players is here, Matt Kishman. Where's Matt? Stand up there, Matt. Matt Kishman is one of our Ohio General Assembly members, former Penguin, and it's been one of the new groups that I've had a chance to get to know, to see how hard that General Assembly works and so forth and so on. But so, you know, I was happily retired, rolling along. So like 3 YSU games, 3 Baldwin Wallace games, 3 Ohio State games. Go up and see Marcus for a game at Notre Dame, go over here, go over there. And then all of a sudden, on January 31st, my wife Ellen and I had gone to Florida. We said, we're going to go to Florida for a couple of months. We're going to be like all the people at the Hall of Fame Luncheon Club. We're going to see how that feels.
Oh, yeah.
And so we were down there, and I had to come back for a Baldwin Wallace board meeting. And so I was at the meeting and was walking out of the meeting, and my phone rang, and I looked at it, and it was the governor. I thought, I wonder why the governor's calling. And I had worked with him on committees about education and workforce and things, and you know, he didn't normally call me. And so I answered the phone, and he said, hey, are you going to be around tomorrow? And that was a Friday afternoon. I said, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, I will be around tomorrow, but I'm flying back to Florida, where I'm happily retired. He said, well, I'm going to come up and see you. And I said, well, Mr. Governor, you're busy. You're the governor. I'm retired, happily retired. Why don't I drive to Columbus if I can help you? You know, no, I want to come. Well, I'll tell you what, let's meet in Mansfield. No, I want to come and see you. I said, well, okay. So I called Ellen down in Florida and said, I don't know what the governor's coming here for, but he says he has an idea. And she said, well, you better vacuum. I said, vacuum? I don't even know where the vacuum is. We're not getting vacuumed. But, so anyway, he showed up 9:30 Saturday morning. I hear the knock at the door. Open the door. There's the governor standing there with the first lady. And I thought, I'm in trouble. He brought the heavy-duty artillery. And they came in and sat down, and he said, hey, I've got an idea. He said, you know, Lieutenant Governor John Husted just was appointed to the U.S. Senate, and, you know, I really need to bring someone on board that I think, if heaven forbid anything happened to me, could handle the situation and so forth. And I'd like to have you consider being the Lieutenant Governor these last 18 or 19 months of our term. And I kind of looked at him and I said, well, Mr. Governor, I don't even know what a Lieutenant Governor does. And he said, whatever I tell you. Okay. I've been retired a year, and I've learned that from at home, whatever Ellen tells me. So I'm getting better at that. So I said, well, let me talk to Ellen and so forth and so on, and said, I'll call you back. And so the next day after I called Ellen, I said, well, hey, Ellen, you know, this is what his idea was. And she said, well, it sounds like God has more work for you. I know how you feel about the governor. I know how you feel about the state of Ohio. She said, I have confidence in you. Why don't you go for it? I said, okay. So I called him back, and I said, hey, look, I've got some things that I've committed to, and I have to be some things I promised people I would do. When do you think this would start? And he said, next week. I said, oh, boy. So we went to work, and I will tell you this. Every private citizen should have the opportunity to see behind the curtain what the responsibilities of the leaders of the state of Ohio or any state are. It's incredible what the governor and the executive branch, General Assembly, the judicial side of things, it's incredible what responsibility they have, the enormity, the complexity of it. You know, I had coached for 38 years, so we had 100 guys and a dozen coaches, and it wasn't that complicated. And then I became college president, and all of a sudden you have 12,000 students and 1,000 and some employees. Got a little bit more complicated. But then my first day on the job with the governor was at the Emergency Management Center, which is kind of like a bunker. If anything horrific happens, that's where they put everyone. And the meeting was at 8 a.m. and I showed up at 7:30, like a good coach would. The meeting was already underway. And they had the Secretary of Agriculture from D.C. on the line, and the state veterinarian and the Director of Agriculture from the state of Ohio, and 2 or 3 General Assembly members, and they were talking about the bird flu epidemic on the west side of the state. And I had no idea that we were the second leading producer of eggs of anyone in the country here in Ohio. And that we were going to have to put down, 13 million poultry, and what this economic impact and the impact on this and that. And I'm like, shoot, man, this is not like trying to figure out what we're going to do on third down. This is like real stuff. Well, then the meeting ended, and we went upstairs to the emergency management part of things, and they gave us a Homeland Security report. And I was like, whoa. Then the next meeting we were at was about energy policy. Then we went into a meeting about young people aging out of foster care. And then we went into another one about mental health. And we went into another one about the Department of Transportation. And then we went into another meeting, and I thought, whoo, there is a lot that goes in to taking care of all the needs of 12 million people. And it's so much fun to work with Governor DeWine. He is a worker. And he really makes it pretty crystal clear that the big things are the big things. And his 3 things that he pounds in us every day is he wants every Ohioan to be safe. At first and foremost, he wants every Ohioan to be safe. Number 2 is that he wants every Ohioan to be healthy, physically and mentally. And so much of what we do wraps around that. And the 3rd thing he always tells us is we've got to find a way for every Ohioan to reach their God-given potential. And that's where whether it's training things, education, so forth and so on. And he just pounds that. And he works. The first 5 days I was there, I thought, I wonder if we're ever going to get to eat. I mean, he just goes, and he's an old prosecuting attorney. So every meeting is question after question after question after question. After about the 3rd day, where we didn't stop to eat, all of a sudden, I saw his trick. He reached under the table, pulled up to the table this little Ziploc bag, and it had like 3 carrots. I'm dying for a cheeseburger. And I learned that if you want to eat, you better bring it with you, and it better look healthy, or governor won't be happy. But he works extremely hard. He cares about this place, and he's really been a joy to work with, and he's a sports fan. I just saw him at the Ohio State game. If I'm at a Browns game, he's there. He loves his Cincinnati Reds, and he loves the Bengals, and he owns a minor league baseball team, and he just loves sports. He drove to the Bengals-Packers game at Green Bay.
Wow.
Now, you got to love sports to drive to Green Bay, but he's a neat guy to be around, and really the things that he asked me to focus on, first and foremost, is education and workforce. When Governor Kasich was in the back end of his administration, he created a thing called Jobs Ohio. And he and the General Assembly created this opportunity that Ohio could be a little more aggressive in trying to attract companies to the state and to attract companies to expand in the state. And they did a great job through that last couple of years of the Kasich administration and through these first 7 years of the DeWine Husted administration. And we've got more opportunities right now than maybe we've ever had. And our General Assembly just saw fit to make sure that this Jobs Ohio goes forward, and so they say somewhere in the neighborhood of 2032, we're going to need about 540,000 more workers than we have today. And we have right now more people working in Ohio than we've ever had working in Ohio. So the governor really is having us work hard at making sure we can weave education and training with that workforce need and that workforce opportunity. You know how it is in human history, the pendulum swings back and forth, and sometimes there's good times, sometimes there's bad. It's that way in coaching, it's that way in business, it's that way in state economics. Well, right now, we happen to be at a moment where the pendulum has swung back in our favor, in large part because of the blessings we have, like Lake Erie, the Ohio River, energy under our feet. I just heard at an event the other day, the guy said that if Ohio, West Virginia, and Western Pennsylvania was a country, we would have the 3rd most natural gas of any country in the world.
Wow.
Texas would be the biggest country, Russia, and then Western PA, Ohio, West Virginia. I mean, that's the kind of blessings we have as the pendulum swings back, and obviously we have great work ethic and great people and great tradition, and our location is within a day and a half drive of supplying the majority of the nation. So we have unbelievable opportunity right now. The biggest challenge we have is to make sure we can get the workforce of all levels. We need we can't get lost. One thing I've noticed about government sometimes is we have conversations around anecdotal things rather than the context. And we need technicians, we need people in robotics, we need welders, but we need PhDs in chemistry, we need attorneys, we need nurses, we need we need it all. Because as these companies grow and the supply chain grows around them and the people come to work at them and so forth, we are going to need everything. We're going to need social workers. You name the topic, we're going to need it. Will AI change some things? Of course. But just throughout the course of human history, the types of jobs have changed. But, I don't think AI is going to do your plumbing for you. I don't think AI is going to, do the carpentry work or so forth and so on, but it's going to change things. We're going to be able to utilize it, absolutely. In the State of the State address, the governor talked about if we're going to meet the economic execution point of our blessing right now of all these 63 companies that moved here from the two coasts, either to plant here or expand here. If we're going to meet that moment and execute on that economic excellence that we've had, I think we were 35th most attractive state in the nation 10 years ago for attracting business. We're 5th. We've got an incredible opportunity, but we're going to need every Ohioan. We're going to need every person. We have 18,000 Ohioans coming out of incarceration every year. The ones that have decided they're going to change the direction of their life, hopefully we've done some great jobs in rehabilitation and corrections and done some training. We're going to need those 18,000. We have tens of thousands of people who have been battling recovery and addiction and so forth. We need to make sure those folks get their lives changed, they're focused, get trained up. They need to fill. We need K through 12 to do a better job. We need 2-year schools, 4-year schools, trade schools. The General Assembly and specifically Lieutenant Governor Husted, now Senator Husted, really pushed hard for us to spend more money on career and technical centers because we kept hearing, hey, we have a shortage. And they came at it and they spent, I don't know, Matt, 300-some million or something in that area. Now I go around to all these career and tech centers, there's a waiting list. I was just over here at Canton South the other day. It's amazing what they're doing in there. There's a waiting list for electricians and there's HVAC things and so forth. But it's a slow increase, and we've got jobs coming in the hundreds. We were just up in Cleveland the other day at the construction awards banquet, and I ran into the guy who's in charge of the carpenters apprenticeship program up there, and he said they now have 2,800 people in their apprenticeship program. They didn't have 2,800 people in the whole state's apprenticeship program. Now we just have it in the Cleveland one. So we have a chance to take advantage of this, but we've got to make sure we expose young people to the new up-and-coming things. Make sure they know there's a lot of ways to make a difference, a lot of positions to play on this Ohio workforce. And so that's what we've been spending a whole bunch of time working on, and it's so much fun working with the educators and working with the business and industry and trying to match things up, trying to get people to understand we have career paths for you. You have to figure out which one really excites you, and you've got to bring with you that work ethic, that punctuality, that curiosity. You've got to bring something to the table too. And so we're having a lot of fun trying to get that done. I promise you the governor will sprint through the finish line. I mean, he's been serving our state for the last 50 years, and he was just in a meeting the other day. He said, my goal is to win every day. I mean, that's the way he's just amazing. So we're going to work hard. We're going to get after it. I haven't had as much time to be around my beloved sports as I would like. I've been to some games. I was over at the Ohio State-Penn State game the other day, and been out to Notre Dame and been to YSU and Baldwin Wallace, but I don't get to practice as much. Last year when I was happily retired, and I was getting to practice, I was getting to sit in the film room, but it's fun to watch all of our teams get after it. And as you mentioned, high school playoffs, that's an exciting time. And you know, there's nothing like November. We used to always say, September's for pretenders, November's for contenders. And that's why November is so much fun, and we're looking forward to that. And so with that, I'm going to open it up to questions. And we've got 2 microphones. That's scary. I remember the days where we didn't have any microphones.
Alex is going to start you off, Coach.
Okay.
All right, Coach. I thought about this long and hard, and you took some of my thunder. But what's the best part about being lieutenant governor? And is it better than being a championship coach? But beyond that, Coach, you're a championship man, and I'm proud to know you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You know, I think the best part about it, like any of the lessons I've had with the jobs I've had, is now I get to meet a whole nother team. Our people work. I mean, you watch the General Assembly run back and forth. A lot of them still have full-time jobs. They're running to Columbus. They're middle of the night. Then you look at our staff that's there working night and day. And so the fun is the people, just like every other, the team, just like every other job I've had. And I wouldn't say I like it better or worse than, you know, I probably was more comfortable in coaching because I knew it a little bit better. I feel like I don't know as much about this, and I'm learning totally new stuff every day, but I'm enjoying the heck out of it and appreciate it. Yep.
Yeah, hi, Coach. My question is, I'm trying to figure out why a local school has a boy who's a junior in high school. He runs a 4.440. He's 6'2", 225, 30 pounds. He bench presses 425. His squat 625. And why would Columbus ignore him or not pursue him?
Oh, gosh. You know, I don't know. Could he play football? Oh, is that right? You know, I know one thing. It's a different world right now. I mean, it really is. You can see all the kids all over the country. You can, you know, the technology that allows you to compare people, you know, and their skill set and so forth. But I mean, I wouldn't even begin to say who somebody should recruit.
This boy has a younger brother who's much like the older brother. Oregon has offered both of those boys a scholarship, and over the weekend the boys had a bye week. So he sent me a picture, and it broke my heart. They had 2 yellow Michigan coats on, and I just
That would break my heart too. But I don't know. All I know is this: we've done a pretty good job recruiting lately. I mean, we have a hard time questioning who we've selected.
Coach.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned our gas resources. Is the cracker plant that was originally proposed for Billy Bottom, will it go forward at some point? And the other question I had was, what the status is of the Intel plant?
Let me take the second one first. The Intel plant's already invested, I don't know, $8 billion into their building. We're going to be making chips in Ohio. Pendulums swing back and forth, supply, demand, what do they need? As I listen, there's 2 buckets at the Intel plant. There's the ones that they make for their own customers. And then there's the chips that they make for other companies' customers. And that one just hasn't gotten the order, hasn't gotten the business that they'd hoped. But I certainly hope that we didn't have $8 billion worth of investment go down the tubes. And my guess is we won't. I mean, you've heard on the news all the conversation about with AI and the importance of chips and making them here and all that kind of thing. Who knows how it'll end up, but my bet is we'll be making chips right there. I've been out to that Intel plant. It's incredible. I mean, and the people, there's still, I don't know, 1,500 people out there in construction every day, and they take great pride in what they're doing. It's going to be an amazing facility. Big things take a long time. You know, you don't win national championships in 10 minutes. Big things take a big thing. Now, in terms of I believe is going to be a great thing for us. I don't remember 7 or 8 years ago when they first started talking about it. And they were saying, well, after Monaca is done over there by the Pittsburgh airport, you know, then we're going to get to work on this one, and then, you know, then regulations change and this and that. And again, you go back to that pendulum, things go back and forth. But we are suited geographically, you know, for something like that to happen. And the thing, all we can do is all we can do. And I know ourselves and the General Assembly are really trying to figure out how can we be as helpful as a state in terms of our regulations and our ease of doing business and all of the getting infrastructure things and so forth. We're working hard at that. Whether the companies make the final decision to make that giant investment, you know, I'm sure, you know, we would love to see that.
Coach Tressel, I'm over here.
Okay, yes, sir.
Question for you. I spent my whole life in education. I worked K through 12. Plus, I worked in a college for many years. What are we doing in Ohio to get more young people to go into education, to keep them in education, to get in there, and they can't make it. They're 5 years are gone, 10 years are gone. You got to do something to help them out and get more kids in, more teachers in the classroom to stay and work with these kids. It's not getting any easier. What's the state of Ohio doing to help them along?
You know, we're having a lot of conversations with the state of Ohio, both in our Department of Education workforce, which is K through 12, and with our presidents of our four-year schools who have the colleges of education. We've had a lot of conversations with Ohio State, who has the largest college of education. And with those very concerns in mind is that, you know, are we training up our teachers the right way for today's world? People ask me all the time as I was getting older and coaching, they would say, hey, are the kids any different than when you started 40 years ago or whatever? And my response almost always was, I don't know that the kids have changed, but the parents have. And that makes it different on a coach, right? I think the same is true on a teacher. So how can we make sure that we trained up, you know, the workforce to handle today's world? But I think there's no question, you hit it on the head. I know I think back to who the most impactful people were in my young lifetime. You know, it was my teachers and my coaches and the Little League coaches and the people that kind of held me to a higher level and convinced me that I could do something with my life. And so I'm with you. I think it's something we've got to find a way to make sure that the training is right, that we're backing them properly. But then we've got to talk to the people we're trying to impact, which is the kids and the families, that, you know, we've got to be allowed, you know, to have high expectations and high standards. And I think that's a conversation that we need to keep having.
It's a cost.
Yes, hello. I can see why the governor wanted you to be the man to do what you're doing. You're a very motivated speaker. I'm glad that our kids have someone like you to do this. I have 8 grandchildren, and 2 of my twin boys are football players. And one of the things that you spoke on a minute ago was about the children and getting into sports and actually getting off maybe the couches or what they're doing with these phones. I can't even imagine what's going on with a lot of kids not doing anything. But I think that they need to be motivated by more than just a few people. We're mostly grandparents. I think that the number one thing other than the Lord Jesus Christ in their life, I think they need to be motivated so they, in the future, will be the ones who will take over these. The jobs are there. I have a 45-year-old daughter who just became an electrician, and she's been a few things, but there's jobs there, but we got to get at it and go do it. And to make our country great like it's supposed to be and always should be, that's what our youth have to be the ones to do these things. And God bless you for what you do, sir.
I think that's really critical, that we've got to make sure that we get the kids inspired to go be a part of an extraordinary time in our state, and have high expectations for them, not low expectations. And you brought the part up about getting up off the couch or in their devices, and one of the things that we decided with our 4th through 8th grade fitness challenge was we weren't just going to challenge them for the fitness side of things. We were going to challenge them from a nutrition standpoint, and we were going to challenge them from a sleep standpoint. And as we talked to them about the sleep standpoint, we're talking to them about the fact that all the research says if you put your Chromebook down, you put your device down, you can get to sleep at night, and those kinds of things. So we have to pound away. We used to always say with our staff, when we looked at the film, we said, we either taught them to do that or we allowed them. So our society has either taught our youth to do that or we've allowed them. So our job is to teach properly and only allow the right things. And that's where it comes into, we need that support of our teaching force from the home and all the rest, and because we have an unbelievable opportunity in front of us.
Looking back at all the hats you've worn, all the different careers you've had, is there a point maybe as a quarterback at VW or a play you didn't call at Ohio State, or maybe knowing where Mrs. Tressel keeps the back call and having to look back at it and think, I could have done that differently or done it, just not done it? Are there any regrets or any changes you would have made?
All of the above. Dougie Six back there, he remembers I threw an interception and we lost the championship game to Wittenberg in 1974. You wish you had that one back, I think about some of the play calls. I think about some of the things from a personal standpoint that I should have seen maybe in a youngster that maybe I could have talked to him about it. And, that's what life's about. But it's about evaluating and then trying to learn from it and get better. You don't, sit in the corner and croon and so forth. Really not sure I want to find out when the vacuum is. I don't want to go on record as saying that, but, it's, I think all of us that work extremely hard or worked extremely hard through a career, there are occasionally times that, I missed a few things because I was working so hard. But then on the other hand, you're trying to serve, others and so forth. So no, I'm trying to stay busy enough that I won't sit around and think of the things they didn't do so well. But I'm sure there's plenty of them.
Do you agree that the Browns should have a dome stadium and should taxpayers have to pay for it?
Ooh, man. I used to like the questions that were, how come you're not running off tackle more? So here's my take on that whole thing. I thought the governor had a great idea, which was to take the fee from the gaming, which was leaving the state, and have that fee handle the building, the state's portion request of building the stadium. And this isn't the first stadium we've ever been asked to help. States helped all over the state. I thought he had a great idea. Well, we have a democratic process. That idea didn't win out. So we're in the moment we're in. Personally, I wish we would have had a dome for the last 40 years, because I think we could have attracted some things to this state that we've never been able to have. I think it could have been fun for like the state football playoffs, maybe. They would have a big deal to, in the middle of December, or, whatever. There could have been a lot of neat things happen. So I'm kind of in favor of having a dome. The wrestling match right now is where do you put it and all that kind of thing, which I think is a little bit short-sighted in that we're not that big of a region. If you think about a major sports region, take Chicago. It's a long way in between the sports entertainment centers. They're not all sitting right next to each other. It's not that far, from the lakefront to, the airport. And I'm an optimist, kind of, that wouldn't it be cool if all the way from the airport to the lake became booming and everything in between? Now,
That'd be nice.
I don't have any say in it. My opinion doesn't matter. I've always been of the opinion that whatever the score is, you better play from there. And the score is right now, we're going to have a dome stadium. I think that's cool. It's going to be by the airport. Okay, that's where it is. I'm going to get behind it, and I just want something great to happen for Northeast Ohio. Yes, sir.
Coach, how close did you come from running for governor, and why did you decide not to?
How close did I come? All I had to do was peel that LT off my door, and I would have been governor, But no, from the day the governor stopped and saw me, I said, well, yeah, I'll be happy to do this for a while, but, I should probably make it pretty clear that this is not, my intention to go much beyond this. And he said, no, you might fall in love with it and so forth. So really, for the first 3 or 4 months, the governor was really good about just saying, hey, experience this before you make any decisions and think it through. And then, I'll let you know when the time is right to see what you thought. And so, as I was experiencing, it's been a tremendous experience. I love getting to know people that I never knew before and work with people that, maybe sometimes we don't agree, but at least we can converse and so forth. But, I don't know that there was ever a time where I would say, yep, I'm going to do that. And, so it got to the point where I thought, I better make it known that, it's my final stop is going to be lieutenant governor. Yes, sir.
What's your assessment of Julius Saying?
Julian Sand, he's good. I mean, he's really got a quick release. You can tell he knows where to go with the ball. He obviously knows what they designed, why they're doing what they're doing. It was probably a tremendously healthy thing for him to be sitting behind Will Howard, going through a whole, 16 games or whatever we did, and so no, I think he's as special as Coach Saban thought he was when he recruited him to Alabama, and fortunate for us, we got him to come to Ohio State. He's a good one, and he seems to be a great kid.
Coach, we're getting back on the education theme.
Okay.
I'm over here.
Okay. Yep.
I noticed that you didn't mention the incarcerated people who are in the prisons. That I have a friend of mine that.
Yeah, I did. I said there's 18,000 of them coming out every year.
Yeah. My question is, are we doing a good enough job of trying to train these outsourcing so that they can qualify for a job once they get out? I had a friend of mine that was got out, got a landscaping job, but he got fired and basically rearrested because he didn't have a driver's license. And I think, why not give these guys an opportunity to get a driver's license, to get a certificate, or that they can get a job while they're in prison.
That's absolutely what our game plan is A, have great training when someone is in rehabilitation and correction. We don't call ours just the corrections, we call it rehabilitation and corrections. We have excellent training programs. You've got to be willing to take advantage of them, obviously. And then when it appears someone has flipped their life and thought, you know what, I'm not going to make the mistakes I made before. I've gotten trained, I want to go the right way. Then we've got to do all we can do to eliminate the barriers, like housing. It's tough for people coming out of prison. They can't even get an apartment or sometimes. And, whether it's the driver's license. I never heard anyone that couldn't get a driver's license. Maybe that's the case. I'm not that well versed on it. Eliminating those barriers they have, but we are working extremely hard. We have training programs in every correctional facility, but like anything else, we have lots of great schools too. You have to go sit in the classroom and learn the things. We have great trade schools. You got to go do your thing. We have great career and tech schools. We need the willingness, but I think that where there's the willingness and they get it done, we've got to make sure we can help them once they get on the outside so that they don't fall right back into the same situation they were in before. And we work, it's amazing how much we invest in that. It really is.
Tressel,
Yes, sir.
In the last, probably in June or July, we had a big spike in electrical costs. I know mine was doubled from 1 month to another. I know we as citizens and consumers need to be more conscious of our take on what we do with the electricity. But what else can be done to help bring that price back down?
You know what? I probably don't have near enough background on that. I have heard that our energy costs have gone up. The one thing that I've also heard discussed quite a bit is we've got to make sure that our infrastructure and our grid and so forth is keeping up with the standards that it needs. I know there's been a lot of conversation about that, and I'd like to believe, we'll see how it flows, and maybe Matt could answer this better than I could. Matt, are you on the Energy Committee?
He left.
Oh, he left. Okay.
You're in trouble, man.
He had enough of this executive branch. But anyway, I know we're working extremely hard to try to figure that out, and because it goes back to the governor's, main goals. He wants every Ohioan to reach their potential, but sometimes it's hard when expenses get overbearing and all the rest. And we have a moment where we should be able to do a darn good job on the energy side of things, just because of where we're located.
Coach, I'll see if I can get you back in your lane a little bit better. As a football coach and a college president, I kind of want your thoughts on the buyouts that you're seeing. Coach Franklin and Coach Kelly getting massive buyouts, and you're seeing other coaches that are getting massive extensions. It's putting maybe some pressure on some schools financially or their boosters. And so, how do you feel about what you're seeing with power conference coaches getting these long contracts, and you see maybe a different approach that they should be taking in schools?
Yeah, it is amazing when you see that. I guess on one hand, when they feel as if they have the right coach, they say there's so much value to that. And then on the other hand, when it turns out that maybe it wasn't, they're saying, well, there's so much value to going and finding the right one. It is a little bit mind-boggling, but I wouldn't say that in this day and age, whether it's sports or anything else, that patience is a virtue. And it doesn't seem like they're letting someone go to the extent of the course of time. I know my dad's first 3 or 4 years at Baldwin Wallace were like 4-4-1, 3-5 and, I don't know, another even record. And then all of a sudden, the fourth year he was 9-0, and after that, he just, I know at Youngstown State, we were 2-9, then 8-3, then 4-7. Well, in this day and age, that might have been curtains, right? But so, yeah, it's hard to understand. Is that a good answer? Because I don't understand it. One more right here.
Mr. Tressel, my friend and I, we've spent about 85 years in education, mostly at the secondary level, and obviously experienced different funding issues in our districts and so forth. And my question is, in your mind, is there a better way, because you've spoken today about the need for K-12 education being the catalyst to educating our kids to be a productive servant in society. In your mind, is there a better way of funding schools in the state of Ohio, public schools?
I'm sure there must be, and I would say this to you. I really think as you look at our education, whether it be, or look at government, we need to be way more efficient than we've been. Because one thing I've noticed, when you have 12 million people and you have this many resources and you have this many needs, you better really be efficient with how you use your money. And so I'm sure whether it's higher education or K through 12, we could have been a lot more efficient than we've been over the last decades. But also, we can't lose sight of the fact that I think we need to be more effective. We need to make sure that we're turning out what this workforce needs, what this state needs, what this country needs. From a formulaic standpoint, is there a better way? I would think, I have not studied that K through 12 formula. I guess you'd almost need a chemistry degree, to study that from what I hear. I know there's lots of conversation going on right now. And like anything else, things that kind of happen in inches, and then all of a sudden you get to a boiling point and you haven't looked at things. And so I think we're at a critical time to look and see how we fund things. And from a federal standpoint as well, we've got to get more efficient. We can't keep going as far in debt as we're going, right? But we've got to be effective too. We've got to be good at what we do. And so we're going to have to figure that out if we're going to remain a great state or a great nation. There's a lot of work to do. I think there's more awareness of the fact that we do have to do things more efficiently and effectively now. I don't know, things that slide in inches, I don't know if you can change them in feet. And that becomes hard because we've become so used to having budgets for this or spend money on that, or we've made decisions that maybe affect the long term that make it a little bit harder and so forth. But we are at a crossroads time, I think, especially with the opportunities we have right now in the state of Ohio, to make some good decisions on that. No question. Thanks so much.